Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity, where we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators and seeing comments. I make comments upon it. I am your host, Preston Proctor. I guess I was going to say Keith Urban, but just lost the train of thought. Already, we're this far in, and I've forgotten what I'm doing. I am your host, Preston Proctor. This is Predators Proclivity. And tomorrow night, we welcome, maybe we can have customs. Nope, they've already made it into the country. Tomorrow night, the Predators are home for one game only in this homestand. Make the best of it. Hey, Winnipeg's coming to town. And they can't be stopped. No, they are coming to town. The Winnipeg Jets are the hottest team in hockey. I think I heard something the other night that said they've got the best record this far ever. They have lost two recently. Their schedule looks really crazy. Really kind of like somebody doesn't like them, but they seem to be flourishing in it. So they are 16-3 overall. That's a good record regardless. It could be your home record, your away record. And on the road, they are 7-2-0. Those two losses, the two losses were they both? Yeah, they both were on the road. They lost in Tampa Bay and then in Florida. This is the weird thing about their schedule. They played last Saturday in Florida against the Panthers. Where else? Well, I mean, I guess they could have played in Florida and Tampa, but they were in Sunrise, Florida, to play the Panthers. And then on Tuesday, they played the Panthers in Winnipeg. And then Friday, they're back in the USA. So they had a 3-game road trip. At least those were all on the East Coast, and then back home for one day. And now their upcoming road trip looks like somebody doesn't like them. Yeah, kind of getting a little bit ahead, but they play Pittsburgh tonight and Nashville tomorrow night. So they're going to be in a back-to-back situation. And then they go to Minnesota, L.A., Vegas, and then Dallas. Then they're back home for one game again, and then go on the road to Buffalo and Chicago, and then they're home for a few. But yeah, that travel schedule just doesn't look like doesn't look like the people that set up the schedule like them. I am looking through the schedule real brief. I did not think to do this beforehand, but this is their first back-to-back of the year. First back-to-back. They started the season playing on a Wednesday in Edmonton, and then on Friday they were in Chicago. So I'm not sure how much trouble customs is for professional teams. I think they've kind of worked all that stuff out. I think it's pretty. I think so, but I'm frankly not sure. I would hope so, but you never know. Things can always change too. But anyways, this looks like their first back-to-back. So Friday, Saturday, Pittsburgh tonight, and Nashville tomorrow. The Winnipeg Jets. Already talked a lot about them. They are number one in the Central Division. They're number one in the league. They have 32 points. They were 5 points ahead of Minnesota, but Minnesota won last night. So they're 3 points ahead of Minnesota. Minnesota is second in the league. So the great start that the Jets have had, and they're 3 points ahead of the second place team. So Carolina was in second, 4 points behind. Yes, they've all played 19 games. Winnipeg, Minnesota, Carolina have all played 19, 32, 29, and 28. 16-3. So I guess the 2 losses recently for Winnipeg kind of brought them back to earth a tad bit. I think last year they were streaky. This year, they're just winning. So I did try. I'll get to this a little bit later. I did try to take a look and see what is Winnipeg doing that the Preds are not, and is there something in there? And I will give you my quick analysis very slowly later. Anyhow. So the Jets are on top of the league, 3 points out of Minnesota. They have a 34-goal differential. 34. Minnesota is 20. Carolina is 28. I think that makes them the best in the league. That's 34 goal differential. And I guess giving something away, I think a lot of that is on the power play. So anyway, they won their first 8, then they lost 1 to Toronto, won 7 more, and then in their last 3 before tonight, they're 1-2. They did play a home and home against Florida, and they went 1-1. They lost in Sunrise and won in Winnipeg. And the game in Sunrise was after they lost in Tampa to the Lightning. So they're 6-3 against the Eastern Conference, and in the West, all of their losses are against Eastern Conference teams. They are 10-0. 10-0 in the West, 6-0 against Central Division teams. Winnipeg and Nashville are both in the Central. Goalie Connor Hellebuck, no R in there. Hellebuck has gotten most of the work. He's 13-2-0. Eric Comrie, the backup, is 3-1-0. Again, they played Pittsburgh tonight. Last year, Hellebuck went 1-2 against Nashville. He was 2-0 against Pittsburgh. The backup last year for Winnipeg was Brossoit, who was 1-0 versus Nashville. Comrie was with Buffalo last year, and in the one game he played for Buffalo against Nashville last year, he lost. They lost that game 2-4. Comrie did not play against Pittsburgh last year. It's my guess that Hellebuck is going to play tonight versus Pittsburgh, and so Comrie will be in goal tomorrow night. That is my guess. I tried to look out, and the nice NHL worthless website. I take that back. There are a lot of stats. When I was going through and trying to figure out how is Winnipeg better, what are they doing better, their stats page was pretty awesome. That was good. I got a lot out of that. But like going to their page and trying to figure out who the injuries are for the Preds, forget about it. Transactions, forget about it. If you want to watch video of Ovechkin or Crosby or Connor McDavid, hey, have at it. Ovechkin, I guess, broke his leg and is out for 4 to 6 weeks. That's the big story on NHL, which it should be. But yeah, so that was the NHL website was useful for that, but that was about it. Okay. Injury update for Winnipeg. It looks like it's been about the same. They've got these 2 guys, these 2 defensemen that seem to be on and off IR all season long. It says on the ESPN website that defenseman Villa Heinola is out. But it also says that he's been transferred back to their AHL team. So I'm not exactly sure where he is. Defenseman Logan Stanley is on injured reserve, but he is traveling with the team. So I think that may mean that he could play. They could pull him off, and he could play if they need him. Just kind of wonder if these guys are really injured or if they're just on IR. I don't know. Transactions, I did find this to be rather funny. Goaltender Kaapo Kaikkonen, I recognize the name because when we were playing Colorado, he was with Colorado at the time. And so he's been claimed for Winnipeg. So I went back and looked at this. And on October 10th, he was waived by Winnipeg. October 10th of this year, he was waived by Winnipeg, picked up by Colorado on the 11th. And then on November 11th, he was waived by Colorado. And on the 12th, Winnipeg picked him up. So I don't know. I guess both of these teams like him. He primarily plays at the minor league level, but I just found that to be really interesting. And I saw somebody's name, and I'm like, wait a minute, I saw this guy on some other team, and that's when I started looking into it. And this guy's gone back and forth between Winnipeg and Colorado a couple times. Oh shoot, trying to think. I do not know where Winnipeg's affiliate is. Maybe they're both in Colorado. Colorado's affiliate, I'm sure, is in Denver, so that's handy. Winnipeg's is probably in Canada somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure. Infatuated with Winnipeg, you kind of have to be because they are playing really well, and and then because we're looking at the Preds and they are not playing really well. It's boy, what a contrast! The best team in the league and the worst team in the league play tomorrow night. And I guess getting into this a little bit early, the best power play in the league is Winnipeg, and the best penalty kill is Nashville. And as much as that might be true, I really wouldn't want to push the bounds of that tomorrow night. Anyhow, stat leaders, who are we going to be seeing frequently? And the answer is center Mark Scheifele, and left wing Kyle Connor. Boy, that was a little easier for me. They both lead in goals and points. They are tied at the lead in goals with 12 and points with 24. Connor, the left wing, Kyle Connor, leads the teams in shots with 70. And the scary stat of the day, Scheifele, who leads in goals and points, leads in shooting percentage. 26.7%, 12 goals on 45 shots. 45 shots later on, when I get into the stats, I think Forsberg leads with 72. Forsberg leads the Preds with 72 shots. Scheifele? We'll call it Scheifele. Leads the league-leading Winnipeg Jets with 45 shots and 19 games, 26.7% shooting percentage. So, 1 in 4, but pretty good. Leading in assists is defenseman Josh Morrissey with 17 and time on ice 24-20. And plus and minus, center Adam Lowry leads the team in plus minus at 13. And the bottom of the plus minus is -3. I guess that's, when you've got a 34 goals against advantage, the lower plus or minus is not so low. There are 4 players at 0 or less, one each at 0, -1, -2, and -3. Center, Rasmus Kupari is the last in it at -3, but that's not so bad. Most of the Preds are below -3. Dylan Samberg leads the team in penalty minutes with 18, which is not a lot. Not a lot. So I think they're not taking that many penalties. I don't, again, I was looking at things, what's the difference here? What stands out? And I'm like, okay, this is different, but is it meaningful? And I just found so many of these things that were not necessarily meaningful. They are differences, but, there were other teams similar that had good records, similar to the Preds that had good records. So, all right. Anyway, tonight is Winnipeg's 21st game of the year. They are playing, or tomorrow night is the 21st game of the year. They are playing their 20th game tonight in Pittsburgh. After 21 games last year, they were 12-7-2. Their 21st game last year was an 0-2 loss to Dallas. This year, they are 16-3-1. So last year, 12-7-2. This year, they are not 16-3-1. What are you, crazy? 16-3-0. They're 16-3-0. Maybe that's foreshadowing. Maybe tonight they will have an overtime loss. I doubt it. Pittsburgh's not really killing it either this year. Where is Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh is at the bottom of the Metropolitan Division with 18 points. So they are just 3 points ahead of the Preds. They're 7-10-4 with a minus 26 goal differential. So, yowza. Anyhow, so they were 12-7-2 last year after 21 games. Tomorrow night will be their 11th game away. Last year, their 11th road game was a 4-2 win at Colorado, and they were 7-3-1. Their 10th road game of the year last year was a 2-3 loss at Nashville. So they were 6-2-1 at that point. They are 7-2-0 this year on the road. 6-2-1 when after losing to Nashville last year. And so that would have been 9 games and 7-2. So that part, their road record is very similar to last year. This year they are 9-1 at home, and last year they were 5-4-1 at home in 10 games. So it looks like their improvement this year is primarily how they're playing at home. I guess they, last year the 6-2-1, 7-3-1 after 11 games. That's still pretty good record. Not exemplary, not like 9-1, but they still had a decent road record last year, and they have a decent road record this year, and I don't expect that to change over the next couple days. But anyway, so it looks like their play at home is better between last year and this year, and so far that's about all I can discern. I don't have a lot of the game to game stats I don't have for Winnipeg, but they've only lost 3 games, so yeah. So tomorrow night's game will be the second of a 6-game road trip for Winnipeg. Tonight they're in Pittsburgh, Monday, Minnesota, Wednesday in LA, Friday in Vegas, and then Sunday in Dallas. Like I said, they go home for 1, and then they're on the road for 2 again. Okay. The Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators are now 6-11-3. At home, they are 4-6-0, almost to 500 at home. The Preds are 8th in the Central Division because Chicago won last night, a 3-1 win over Florida. So the Preds are now 8th in the Central Division and in the league basement again with 15 points. They are 2 points behind Utah. They are tied with Chicago, but Chicago has more wins. So that puts Chicago ahead of Nashville for the time being. The Preds are 2-4-1 against the Eastern Conference and 4-7-2. against the West, 3-1-1 versus Central. 3-1-1, a winning record against the Central Division. Tomorrow night's game is the only one on this homestand. The Preds are going to be playing their 21st game of the year. After 21 games last year, the Preds were 11-10. The 21st game was a 3-2 overtime win over Pittsburgh, and so it was the first time of the season they were over 500 at 11-10. That I think they lost the next two, so it didn't. The win over Pittsburgh was the end of a 6-game winning streak, and this year they are 6-11-3 overall. 6-11-3 overall, although last year they were 11-10. I suppose if the 3 overtime losses were wins, and if laundry detergent were gold. Anyhow, so the base losses, regulation losses for the Preds is close to last season. 10 last year, 11 this one. Okay, moving on. Tonight's is the Preds. Tomorrow night, really need to be better about that. Tomorrow night is the Preds' 11th home game. Last season, they were 7-4-0 in 11 home games. The 11th game was a 3-2 win over Winnipeg. It was the 5th win in the aforementioned winning streak that ended against Pittsburgh. The last game was Pittsburgh. And this season, they're 4-6-0. So their home effort is not as good as last year at this time. Injury update, nothing new on the injury list. Defenseman Adam Wilsby, who had been recalled from Milwaukee, has been sent back down to Milwaukee. That's the only transaction. Not much there. Stat leaders, left wing Philip Forsberg leads the team in goals, points, and shots with 8 goals, 15 points, and 72 shots. Defenseman Roman Josi leads the team in assists with 12. He's second in shots with 69, and time on ice leads with time on ice 25-24. Mr. Empty Net, center Gustav Nyquist leads the team in shooting percentage at 28.6%, 6 on 21 in 20 games. He has 3 empty net goals in that process. So, I hate to keep going back and forth with this, but I kind of don't. So the stat leader for shooting percentage for Winnipeg is at 26.7%. Versus the Preds being 28.6, but he has got 12 goals, and Nyquist has 6. I don't know how many I do not know how many empty net goals Scheifele has, but anyhow. Right wing Luke Evangelista leads the team in plus minus at 1. Center Philip Tomasino dropped down to 0 with defenseman Mark Delgazzo. And in the basement, a plus and minus is now Josi and center Steven Stamkos at minus 14. Right wing Michael McCarron leads the team in penalty minutes with 30. And the Preds are playing 1 at home. Then they're going to New Jersey for 1 game Monday, and then they're coming back for 2 at home. That's the Preds. The Nashville Predators at home. The Preds are 4-6-0 at home. They won. Hey, their last home game was a win. Saturday, November 6th. Whew, boy, look back and can you see that far? It was a 4-0 win versus Utah. That game, in the first period, Nashville got 2 power play goals. So there's no scoring by Utah. So the second period, Forsberg got his second goal of the game, and in the third period, Nyquist got an empty net. So the Preds got the first goal. They won all 3 periods. I don't need to pull out the stats. I can tell you what the stats are. And I think I can make a broad statement that says that every game in the NHL, if you win 3 periods, you win the game. And if you lose 3 periods, you lose the game. And I can say if you win 0 periods, you lose the game. I think I can be a broad brush there. I think it could be possible to lose 3, but win a period. Yeah, and we've seen that because the Preds have had this year they've won 2 and lost 2. And last year they won 2 and lost 2 and lost 2, and that was last year. It happened once, and it was a home victory against Pittsburgh. And this year it's happened twice. Was it rinse and repeat? Colorado, and then whoever else they played. Yeah, and so last season, I think Pittsburgh scored 1 goal in the first and second. The Preds scored 2 in the third, and then got the winning goal. And if Pittsburgh had gotten the winning goal in that circumstance, the Preds would have lost 3 and won 1. But losing 3, you're gonna lose the game because if you don't win any. Anyway, so I'm not going to go through those stats, but I did wax on, I guess, a little too long. So getting the first goal this year is not that great a determinant. The Preds, when they get it overall, are 3-3-2. And all that has been in the first period. When they don't get the first goal, they're 3-8-1 overall. So that's looking bad. That's looking bad. And then on the road, tonight is a home game, so they're 2-2 when they get the first goal, and 2-4 when they do not. Or tomorrow night's game is a home game. So looking at home statistics. When the first goal is in the second period, the Preds have lost all of those 2-3, or they have not lost all of those. They're 2-3. They have not gotten the first goal. If the first goal is in the second period, it's always by the opponent. But the Preds won 2 of those 5 games. The one game where it was scored in the third period, I think that was against Calgary. And that was a loss. So last year, it was a little different in 21 games. The 8-5, and when they got the first goal, 7-4 in the first, 1-1 in the second. And if they did not, they were 3-5. No, that was in the first period. And at home, 6-2 if they got the first goal. 5-1 the first, 1-1 the second, and then 2-2 at home when they didn't. So it wasn't. I guess at home in the first 21 games, if they got it, that's a 3-1 advantage. If they don't, it's 50-50. Guess it's 50-50 right now. If they get it in a 1-2 advantage for the opposition. So it's not, well, I mean, the Preds aren't winning. So what else would it be? Winning, winning 3 periods. I went ahead and looked it up. Last year, in 21 games, they had 1 game where and it was at home where they won all 3 periods. Overall, it happened 5 times. 3 at home and 2 on the road. Winning by period. This season, overall, in the first period, the Preds are 4-6-10 in the first period. So 10 ties, 4 wins, and 6 losses At home, 2-3-5, identical on the road, 2-3-5. The second period, 7-10-3. So definitely less ties in the second and third period. The third period, 8-9-3. So 8-9-3. That's it's close to 500. At home, they are 5-5 in the third period. 4-5-1 in the second, 2-3-5 in the first. So they're playing kind of even, and that's not taken in consideration goal differential. It's just taken into consideration, whether they're win, losing, or tying in the periods. That in and of itself doesn't look horrible. Last year, they were definitely better in the first period. Overall, they were 10-3-1 in the first period, 4-6-10 this year, 8-8-5 in the second, which is, not bad, 7-10-3 this year, which is not too far off. And then in the third period last year, they were 5-10-6 in 21 games, which is horrible. That's similar to the record in the first period, except there were more time. 4-6-1 this year in the first, 5-10-3 in the third last year. Most of that was on the road. At home, they were 4-4-4 in the third period, 1-6-2 in the third period. And just I guess this is leading into the stats where the home team, actually that's 1-6-2. That belies that. 1-6-2 away, 4-3-2 in the second. And last year overall, let's get past that. I've already kind of gotten into the goal differential or the winning goal percentages. The home team tends to get the winning goal when they win in the second period last year, 39% for the Preds, 65% for the opponents, versus the away team getting primarily the goal in the third period, with the Preds being on the road 42%, the opposition 44%. So the percentages are very similar. And that was last season. This year, the winning goal overall, it's 20, 30, 30, and 20. So 30% in the second and third. They are home, but so those statistics, they're not my favorite. But anyway, that's currently where the winning goal is overall. Goal scoring at home, we'll just look at the home numbers. They're being outscored in all three periods, and that's even taking out the empty nets. The empty nets currently stand at 5-8. The third period overall is 16-23. And so taking those out, it's 11-15. It's not horrible, but overall 12-15 in the first, 17-23. Okay, I said I was just going to do it at home, and now I didn't. So at home, overall at home, in the first period, it's 8-8. So even overall, when the Preds win, it's 3-0. And so when they lose, it's 5-8. But 8-8, so they're even. And then in the second, it's 8-11. I really have to get better at that. But 4-5 empty net goals for at home. So the third period scoring goes down to 6-10. So they're being outscored at home in the third period and in the second period. It's interesting because I guess that's interesting because they are At home, they're 2-3-5, winning the first, 4-5-1 in the second, 5-5. Again, that's just winning and losing. That's not necessarily goal differential. But yeah. So at home, on average, including empty nets, the Preds are scoring 2.8 goals to the 3.3 for the opposition. So they're half a goal ahead. And if we take those out, it would be a stat that I don't have in front of me. The special team stuff is still kind of a work in progress. I was fooling with that yesterday and got completely confused. So, and so empty net stuff is part of what I call special teams, but specifically in special teams. So far, at home, the Preds have had more power play opportunities, 35-33, and more goals, 9-3. The opponents have 3 just after goals, so they've scored 3 goals within a minute of a power play expiring. So if you want to count that, that would be 9-6. It doesn't count in the power play stats. It's something I'm tracking. There's no such statistic that I know of that the NHL has. The Preds have 1 shorthanded goal and 2 just after shorthanded. So they've scored 2 goals. This is all at home. 2 goals after a penalty kill, within a minute of a penalty kill. So that would be 3. That's pretty good. So the Preds are playing pretty well, 4-on-4. The announcer's saying that I guess the communication is really stellar. And it'd be nice if they could, you got 4-on-4 and you're playing great. Hey, just add one guy. Just pretend he's not there. Still not at the point where I can laugh and not cough, so I'm still trying not to laugh. All right, so that's the Preds stats at home. Tomorrow night's matchup. All right, this is where I started trying to figure out what it was that Winnipeg is doing or not doing, that the Preds are doing or not doing, or what. And so here's a bunch of stuff that I'll get to in a minute. So tomorrow night is the first game of 4 with the Jets. There will be 2 games in Winnipeg, about a week apart. They'll play on December 30th and then on January 7th, both in Winnipeg. And then Winnipeg will return to Nashville at the end of February. And so that's the 4 games there. Let's see, looking at that road trip. That road trip for the Preds will start December 27th in St. Louis. Then they go to Winnipeg. So Friday in St. Louis, Monday in Winnipeg, Tuesday in Minnesota, Friday in Vancouver, Saturday in Calgary, and then Tuesday in Winnipeg, and then they're back home. So that's the early January schedule for the Preds, which, wow, that's just a month away. Oh, my gosh. It's the 22nd of November. Oh, no wonder I was singing a Christmas song while doing my laundry this morning. That I don't normally do. Sing Christmas songs, that is. Especially this early. Anyway, who am I and what are we doing? Anyway, so tomorrow night is the first of 4 with the Jets. Last season, they played 4 as well, and they split both the home and away. So both teams won a home and away game. Nashville's were the 2 in the middle. So Winnipeg won the first and last. Nashville won the 2 in the middle, which the 3-2 and 4-2. And then Winnipeg won the first and the last, the first being 3-6, and the last being a 3-4 overtime win. In the 2 Nashville wins last year against Winnipeg, Winnipeg was held scoreless in the first. Winnipeg did score 2 goals in 3 of the the games, not in the overtime games. So the first 3 games, Winnipeg did score 2 goals in the third period, but in the 2 wins, they were scoreless in the first. Random trivia. Yeah. All right. Special teams. So this is a bunch of numbers. What are they doing? What is Nashville not? I mean, Winnipeg's doing a lot of things well. They're number 1 in the power play percentage at 35.7%. 35.7%. They've got 20 goals and 163 total penalties in minutes. And the Preds have 201 total penalties in minutes. And they've given up 6 goals. They are number 1 in the penalty kill at 91.3%. So Winnipeg, number 1 in power play, Nashville, number 1 in penalty kill. Winnipeg is 16th in drawing penalties with 71. The Preds are 10th drawing penalties with 79. So the Preds are getting more penalties. They're getting more opportunities. But Winnipeg is definitely drawing. I mean, they 71%. They got 71 penalties and 35%. 20 goals. 71. They've drawn 71 penalties and they have 20 goals. 20 goals and haven't drawn 71 penalties. I mean, that's wow. Now the Preds are good special teams, but not in the 5-on-5, and apparently not good enough 5-on-4. Although they do have 9 goals. The penalties drawn 60 for Winnipeg, 16th. Oh, right. Per 60 minutes. The Nashville's played one more game than Winnipeg. In 60 minutes, penalties drawn, Winnipeg is 16th at 3.73. Nashville is 11th with 3.92. So that means per game, Winnipeg is drawing 3.73 goals a game in Nashville, 3.92. So Nashville's drawing more penalties than Winnipeg, but Winnipeg is definitely taking advantage of it. In taking penalties, they're 26th. Winnipeg is 26th. 61. I'm not sure what that means. It must have been, so 61. And taking penalties, 61. The Preds are 4th, 87. So the Preds are definitely taking more penalties, way more penalties than Winnipeg. And with Winnipeg's power play percentage, that could just get to be a little dangerous. Penalties taken in 60 minutes on the average, Winnipeg is 26th at 3.2, and the Preds are 7th, 4.31. So the Preds are definitely taking more than 1 penalty a game than Winnipeg. 91% versus 35%. I mean, if the Preds get 4 penalties and the Winnipeg gets 4 power play opportunities tomorrow night, they haven't got to be 35%. If they get 1, that's 25%, and that puts that, and then it would be 75% for the Preds. So 1 goal and 4 opportunities would be below their average, would be reasonable for a team this good in power plays to score. And the Preds being really good still, 1 and 4 would not be bad. But I think overall, given the scoring for the Preds, if they can stay out of the penalty box, I think that takes a weapon away from Winnipeg. Now, the question is, how do you do that? How do you not take the penalty? And I think the main thing there is not put yourself in a position where you're at a disadvantage, and so they have to be more vigilant. Maybe play a little bit more defensive, not try to push the offense so much that they could become unbalanced and Winnipeg get odd man breaks. That would be my best. That would be my best thoughts on that. Winnipeg is fifth in time on ice at 5-on-5 at 49 minutes, and Nashville is 27th at 46 minutes. And so, that's where one of the things where I'm looking at and going, oh, okay, well, Winnipeg is playing 5-on-5 more. Well, Toronto is worse than Nashville. They're 29th. Nashville's 27th. Winnipeg is 5th. Toronto is 5th in the league, and they lead the Atlantic Division. So that's where these stats in and of themselves don't mean anything. They don't mean they're not a determinant. Nashville is number 1 in the league in faceoff wins at 53%. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Winnipeg is 16th. Okay, I think we can. That's 49%. I mean, it's not. I mean, first to 16th is 3.9 percentage points. It's not a lot. And 53% leads the league. I mean, it's still roughly 50%. So that's just saying that Nashville wins the puck more often, but they don't do anything with it. I mean, say that the Preds are last in the league. I mean, what are they doing? What are they doing that is helping them win? It's hard to say that when you're last. I mean, I guess you take a look at the games that they win and what are they doing better in those games, and then go from there. I guess what do we've got wins against Boston, Chicago, Columbus, Colorado, and Utah. And of those teams, Boston is 4th in the Atlantic. Utah, Chicago, just ahead of Nashville. Who else was it? Colorado, Columbus. I need to play more teams that have bad records, I guess. Columbus, 8-9-2. I mean, they're... Anyhow, sorry, rambling on here. Just trying to figure out, this is an interesting contrast between Winnipeg, who's the best team in the league, and Nashville Predators that are the last in the league. They may not be the worst team. They aren't the worst team. They've got a lot of talent. They're really good skaters, really good individuals. They're just not playing like a team. So they aren't the worst. It's not the worst lineup. I guess you have to say they are the worst team right now. They are last in the NHL. And you'd have to say Winnipeg is the best team. They are top of the league. That's what it is. It's the best team playing the worst team. It doesn't mean the individuals. I mean, I guarantee you, I don't know these guys on Winnipeg. I don't recognize those names. I probably should. We played Winnipeg 4 times. I mean, they played, L.A. These guys are good players. There's no doubt about it. But give me a break. It's Jonathan Marchessault. We got Steven Stamkos. We got Philip Forsberg. We got Roman Josi. I mean, look at the lineup that the Preds can put out there, and there's just so much talent. Ryan O'Reilly, Jiminy Cricket. It's just sad. Brady Skay, Luke Shin, Alexander Carrier. The talent on the Preds is not the problem. And I hate. What was that? Simon, the Kings went out and got this guy years ago. Simon, he's a great player. Came to the Kings and skated in circles. Just took a lap, and just was a terrible addition to the team. Spent so much money on him. I don't think that's what we're seeing out of Stamkos and Marchessault. I think they are playing well. They're just not integrated in the team, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Sometimes it just kind of comes to you. Just this whole thing is just kind of upsetting me. Why they're not playing better, but a quick basketball story. Play a lot of basketball. I was living in the San Francisco area years and years ago, and just went over to this outdoor court to shoot some ball, and there were 5 guys out there already, and so they said 5, so I made 6. So 3 of the guys knew each other, and then there were these 2 other guys, and so I got paired up with these 2 other guys. I think they were Russian. I don't know. I don't think they spoke English. I don't know. We completely destroyed these 3 guys that knew each other and played together all the time. We made the extra pass. We were all 3 players that had the mindset of making the extra pass, driving, make the pass, drive, make the pass, put the defense into a position. And we just literally destroyed them. Now, I guess we must have played decent defense too, but never played with these guys before, never played with them again. In fact, I'm not sure we said 2 words to each other, but we could play together. And that's what this team does not have, and I don't know how you get that. I have played on basketball teams that couldn't figure out which way the basketball bounced, and that's rough. That's rough. And again, I did not play professionally, so when you're getting paid and you're playing that many games. I don't know what you do in the locker room, but boy, going on and on. There's was that movie about that football player in Philadelphia, and the coach said, this is a team that is not short on talent. I have to go back and take a look at that. I remember what that quote is, but the Nashville Predators are not short on talent. They are not short on talent. Anyhow, I don't really know. I don't really know what they can do to get better, but they've needed to get better by now, and they haven't gotten better by now. So if that's the thing about time, time is what keeps everything from happening at once. You don't play all the games at one time. You have to take them one at a time, and then you get the whatever time there is between games to figure out how to be better. One of my mottos: every day better. Every day better than yesterday. That's what I try to do. Every day be better than yesterday. Okay, so that's I think I got my movie reference in. I got talked about me being sick. Talked a little bit about basketball. Have not brought in cycling. Cycling, my true love. Yeah, well, I'm not sure how a cycling reference. Oh, the cycling, the team aspect. You got to work together as a team. But anyway, basketball, yeah, I guess. And it's a sport I can't play anymore because of my knees, but there you go. That's why I'm sitting behind a mic. Anyhow, this is Pred's Proclivity, and tomorrow night the Predators have a game. I do not have a game. I am not playing anywhere in any sport at any time. Not even playing golf this weekend. We're too sick to play golf. And we had tickets to the Winnipeg game, and we're not going to go. Don't want to risk getting people sick. I swear I caught my thing from my wife, but my wife got it after me. I stand by that she got me sick, but maybe she brought it home. I germinated it, cultured it, brought it along, and then gave it to her, and now she's sicker than I was. But taking her meds and still going in and teaching calculus. So what a trooper. I'm not getting anybody infected behind the mic. Anyway, so Nashville does have a game tomorrow night. It is against Winnipeg. Winnipeg is starting their road trip tonight in Pittsburgh, playing in Nashville tomorrow night, a 6-game road trip. They did win their last game at home before losing 2 in a row on the road. The Preds are home for 1 game, and they did lose their last one in Seattle, 0-3 on the last road trip. They did win their last home game, though. So, what to expect? Saros should be in goal for the Preds. That's what I was complaining about the NHL, because NHL has this article about starting goaltenders, starting lineups for tonight, but it's yesterday's games. I mean, heck, it's almost, in the East Coast, it's almost noon. And nothing about tonight's games yet. Anyway, so, because I wanted to check to see, because I think Comrie's going to be in goal against the Preds, and Hellebuck will be in goal against Pittsburgh. But I thought, well, if I can check that and be sure, then I know a little bit more, but that was not available. Probably out on a Winnipeg board somewhere, but anyway, that's what to expect. Winnipeg has got the best power play in the NHL. The Preds have the best penalty kill. I'm hoping not to see a lot of that being pushed. So hopefully the Preds can stay out of the penalty box. I think that'll give them a better chance. Play a little bit more defensive, spend a little bit more in defensive zone, so you don't get the crazy defensive penalties because you're on odd man rushes. Hopefully that's what we'll see, and we'll come away with a Preds victory. That would be amazing. Thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor, and you've been listening to Predators Proclivity.